Hi and welcome back to Healing Gems. So it's been a while since I've posted. There's been the midst of coronavirus and all sorts going on. And sort of during that time, I've had sort of a few sort of struggles with my own health, in terms of, sciatica appearing and trying to sort that out, which has inspired me to once again look into physical illness, anxiety, and how to heal this. So in my research, I have, and I've talked about this before, being highly sensitive. So highly sensitive person and anxiety and things like intrusive thoughts, things like somatic illness, which are illnesses which really manifest in the body and there isn't a known cause, it can't be identified, and is usually labelled as a disorder of some kind. So this topic is huge, so I'm going to try and sort of condense a little bit into sort of like smaller videos in order to sort of help you help yourself. So the subject of this video is about highly sensitive people and anxiety, and the physical symptoms that go with it, and how you can help to improve that situation. So what is highly sensitive? So a highly sensitive person, there's about 15 to 20% of the population which fall into this sort of group of people which are more highly sensitive than sort of like the general population, which isn't enough to be classed as a disorder, but it's not a big enough sample of the population for people to really sort of truly understand what it is and how we can really honour it and help those people to flourish. So what are these common signs of someone that is highly sensitive? Well, one, if you're watching this video, it's probably likely that you are, or you resonate with what I'm saying. So that's a clue in itself. But things like being easily overwhelmed. You find that if you get given a lot of things to do in a short space of time, then you feel like your nervous system rushes up and you start to sort of panic, you start to feel a little bit twitchy, maybe your mind starts racing. So that's a very sort of clear sign. You don't like being observed. So if you're doing something, maybe you're training for a new job and someone's observing you, it really makes you nervous. Everyone's probably going to be nervous starting a new job and being observed. No one probably likes that. But for a highly sensitive person, it's ramped up even more, and you probably don't perform your best under that. I know the amount of times that I've done training, and as soon as someone starts observing me, I almost like fall to pieces, or I do it wrong. But left on my own, I'll do it perfectly, or as perfect as it can be. So you will find, as a highly sensitive person, you have a rich, complex inner world. And if you're not sort of like familiar with that kind of language, what does that actually mean? It probably means you feel a lot of emotions. You can go through the course of a day and feel huge amounts of things, sadness all the way to happiness and being ecstatic, but you might feel despair and you might feel loneliness, and you've got all these thoughts and feelings churning around inside of you that you're dealing with on almost sometimes a minute by minute basis. And you're comparing yourself with other people who don't seem to be affected by those kind of things. And then you start to put stamps on yourself of like, there's something wrong with me, I'm a bit odd, oh god, I'm weird, like no one else is struggling with all of this kind of stuff. So having that rich inner world, thoughts, constant thoughts, some of you might be dealing with intrusive thoughts, which are also classed as sort of like OCD, like it could be relationship anxiety, HOCD. You pick the subject, whatever your OCD or intrusive thought clings onto. You were probably called, as growing up, you were probably called shy, sensitive, introvert. Those kind of labels were put upon you. And you may not have actually been shy or introverted, because I know I'm not particularly shy, and I wouldn't class myself as an introvert. And in fact, about 15%, let me just make sure I've got that right. So 30%, about 30% of highly sensitive people are actually extroverts, which in itself can create sort of like a bit of a problem, because you've got the person who's highly sensitive and needs sort of like downtime. They need to honor themselves and, you know, relax a bit more than other people. But then, you know, you've got this other side of your personality which likes to be around people, which likes to be stimulated, which likes to, you know, be doing things, and then that can cause a bit of conflict in itself and sort of like wear you out. And that's probably where I kind of fall. And you know, it does cause problems with sort of like your health and physical symptoms, and sort of ramping up that nervous system even more and creating more anxiety. So they're kind of like the sort of traits of being highly sensitive. All species, animals, humans, have highly sensitive people within their group. You know, you've all come across sort of like, you know, animals that are quite what you perceive to say as shy or scared. They're probably like the highly sensitive species or animals within their group. And this isn't a new thing. You know, back in the days of where we used to be hunter-gatherers, highly sensitive people were actually very honoured, because they were put at the front of, like, say, the hunting pack, because you're very aware of your surroundings, you're aware of micro movements, you're aware of like the tiniest sounds, or you're aware of just maybe a feeling that something is there. So these people used to be put at the front of the hunting tribe, because they could maybe detect where that animal was that they were going to hunt before anyone else picked up on those subtleties of movement or sound or feeling, you know. So back then, those people probably, you know, they had a role and it was honoured to be like that, and it wasn't really a problem. But obviously we don't live in that world anymore. We live in a world where it's 24/7. You're expected to be like this sort of, you know, where extrovert sort of personality prevails. You know, it's just on the go all the time. It's chaotic. You're expected to sort of like live a certain life. It's like, you know, there's work pressures, there's social pressures, there's family pressures. If you've got children, then obviously, you know, there's all of that. And this sort of lifestyle is maybe not conducive to a highly sensitive person if they are not either aware they're highly sensitive, or they haven't put sort of like things in place in order for them to be able to manage that life. And that's where anxiety comes in. That's where intrusive thoughts come in. That's where illness comes in. And, you know, it's almost like a warning sign from the body to say, whoa, hold on a minute. You know, things aren't quite right here. You're not honouring yourself. And there's probably a lot of unhealed trauma from being highly sensitive that you've had throughout the whole of your life that you've just squashed down and you've not recognised. And when I say trauma, you know, for a highly sensitive person, it doesn't have to be classed as, you know, a big trauma, you know, like a car accident or, you know, abuse of whatever kind. It doesn't have to be that big trauma. It's small micro traumas of maybe not being honoured for being who you are, you know, being sort of squashed down, being called sensitive, you know, not fitting into the mould of the way that you like to learn, and things like that. You know, they just build up. And it's not until you probably hit your sort of like mid-20s, maybe your 30s, where, you know, actually things start to feel like, you know, they're just not right, or anxiety just like hits you like a truck, and you've got to do something about it. There's no more squashing it down. There's no more trying to, you know, pretend this isn't happening. That's not possible anymore. Your body is telling you, right, now something needs to be done. So I think like the first thing is really sort of like identifying, you know, if you sort of do fall into that sort of like highly sensitive person bracket. And there is actually a test that you can do online. There's a lady who wrote a book, and she has Elaine Aron, and it's for a highly sensitive person. So she's got a selection of books around being highly sensitive, being a highly sensitive parent, or having a highly sensitive child, or I think she's got one on being a highly sensitive person and managing relationships, because generally highly sensitive people do struggle a little bit in relationships if they sort of aren't aware that they are a highly sensitive person. So her name is Elaine Aron, as I said, and her website is www.hsperson.com, and on there's loads of resources. You can see all her books, but there's also like a online sort of assessment that you can do to see if you fall into sort of like this bracket of being highly sensitive. But as I said at the beginning, if you've sort of watching this video and you found yourself here, then it's pretty likely that you are, because you know at this point you're probably suffering and you're trying to figure out a way of stopping all of this pain that you're feeling inside, whether that be physical, emotional, or mental. Okay, so we'll just talk a bit about like what being highly sensitive isn't. Obviously you some highly sensitive people may have these traits, but they're not behaviors that are innate to being highly sensitive. So you may have been called shy, you might be labelled as an introvert, you might be classed as sort of like someone who's quite fearful or a bit of a scaredy cat, or being neurotic. So it's not in the whole, it's not those things. You know, being highly sensitive is the fact that you have a really, really highly attuned nervous system, and you know you can't do anything about that. That's how you're born. That is who you are. But there is, and don't, by saying like, you know, this is the way you are, you can't do anything but how you're feeling right now in terms of the pain and the anxiety. Absolutely you can, and there is a route out of that. It's just knowing how to do it. So the first thing that is recommended to do in order for you to start the healing process, and you know, I know you probably don't want to hear it, it's not an overnight thing. It's a long-term healing process in order to, you know, start to allow these thoughts and feelings and anxieties to subside. And you know, you might find that it works quite quickly with these sort of like tools and techniques that I can teach you, or you know, or just by reading other books. Like this lady here is absolutely brilliant. You know, I would recommend this book to anybody. It's called The Wisdom of Anxiety by Cheryl Paul, and you know, it's been a lifesaver for me. She's got a blog called Conscious Transitions, and you know, her work is absolutely amazing. If you suffer from OCD or intrusive thoughts, and you've done CBT and you've had to do the exposure therapy and things like that, which is, it's not very nice. I've done that, and it's, you know, it's not a nice, it might help a little bit in terms of your anxiety and intrusive thoughts and reducing those, but she really takes it from a deeper place than that in terms of healing wounds and traumas and bringing those to the surface, accepting, you know, that you are this highly sensitive person, and that is your route out of this pain. So if you are experiencing anxiety, physical symptoms that go along with the anxiety, or maybe you're, you know, suffering from a condition like chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, etc., you know, these unexplained long-term chronic conditions that people just can't seem to heal, then it's pretty likely that, you know, this kind of work is going to really benefit you and help you. So again, as I said, the first thing to do is accept that you are this highly sensitive person, and know and honor that. You know, do some research on it, figure out what it really means, and then that is like the start of your journey. You know, knowing that this type of personality is not wrong. It's actually a very good sort of trait to have, because once you remove the anxiety, because what happens is when you're young and, you know, you're classed as sensitive, and, oh, you know, don't be so sensitive about that, oh, why are you worrying about that, you know, all of those things like make you feel like there's something wrong with you, and it pushes you down and squashes you down, and there's only so long you can keep squashing and being made to feel weird, or, you know, that you're not normal because you don't fit into, like, you know, or things affect you so much more than other people. You know, that shame and that worry creates anxiety. But if that was nurtured, and if it was okay to be sensitive, and if it was okay to feel things, because in this culture we don't like feeling anything apart from good emotions. You know, negative emotions are like, oh my god, get rid of them as quickly as possible. You don't want them, you don't want to feel them. You know, it's the positive. You know, with all lot, especially a lot of the well-being stuff, it's like positive affirmations. It's like, you know, be positive, you know, do this, do that, and, you know, why are you feeling so sad, etc. But like, that isn't honouring how you feel, and by not doing that, it creates anxiety. But if all of that was nurtured, then all of that goes into being creative. Like, you know, you're probably quite a creative person. You know, you've probably got quite a good imagination. You might be, you know, an artistic kind of person, or you might like writing, or you just might be creative in, you know, other ways in your life, in terms of like how you play and involve and get involved with your children. But when that's squashed down, it goes to anxiety instead of creativity. So I know I've sort of waffled on a little bit here, but, you know, this is such a big subject, and it's really important to recognize that, you know, if you are this type of person, that you probably do need to put certain things into place in order to live a happier and healthier life. And these might be like simple things, like, you know, taking half an hour out of your day to meditate, to, you know, even if it's just to be in silence in the house, you know, sweeping the floor, or painting, or something completely like that you do on your own. So there's no stimulus, there's no, you know, it could be you're going for a walk but not with your earphones in. It's just like listening to the sounds around you, like the birds and nature. It's just taking time out so your nervous system has time to like just ramp down and calm down and process what you've done during the day. It might be that, you know, you have to make some life changes in terms of, you know, the type of job that you're in. You know, is it the right job? Is it benefiting you health wise? You know, does it allow you to be creative? You know, is it on the go all the time? Does it involve a lot of traveling? Because for highly sensitive people, traveling, going, you know, in different time zones, it can affect all your bodily systems. So, you know, have a think about things like that. And, you know, the types of relationships and friendships and things like that you have in your life. It might just be that you limit, you know, your time with certain people because you find that they wear you out. It doesn't mean you have to stop being friends with somebody. It just means that, you know, you might go out with them for a short period of time, or actually do something different with them, to honour this and nurture yourself. And I know this can all seem very overwhelming and very scary, and I know I've been there, and I've got completely freaked out by, you know, what have I got to do, changes in my life in order to heal and get better. But, you know, the fact that you're here and you're listening to this, it can be just very healing in itself. Learning about it and listening about it can, I found, to be really healing without actually even then doing some of the work that you might need to do, which could be things like journaling, honouring how you feel, and even talking to yourself out loud, you know, about certain situations and how you felt about that. and sort of like turning it around into something that, you know, you acknowledge the negatives, but then you can see what you've learned from it and turn it into a more positive experience of what you've learned. So that there's hundreds and so many tools out there. It's just finding what works for you. But I am going to do some more regular posting now on things that can help you. As I said, check out those two books, those two ladies who are very qualified to speak about this subject, and they do immense work in this realm, and you know, personally for me it's been very, very helpful. So anyway, I hope that's been helpful. Please leave your comments below, ask any questions, please like the video, share the video with any other people that you feel could benefit from listening to this, and you know, thanks again for listening, and take care. Bye.